Hi, my name is Arthur van der Wees. I am the Managing Director of Arthur Legal Strategies and Systems. Based in Amsterdam, and we're also partnered in Concordia. We are on a daily basis helping out our clients, both in the public and the private sector, both on the vendor and the demand side, and we also help authorities and law enforcement on when things go wrong. And of course, where necessary, we can also go to court. We are attorney at law as well. So you can see us as market makers, being in the middle, pushing out or pushing back and trying to come up with a right digital ecosystem that works for everybody, both on the innovation side as well as making sure it's resilient and it adds to sovereignty for a country, for persons, and for regions. Today we talk about ethics and accountability, a very relevant and very high level and a hot topic currently, not only in Europe, but basically globally. Think about artificial intelligence, for instance, and robotics. Four notions we have to discuss in this brief video course. So you have some better, and hopefully at the end of the session, some better grasp and view on what it actually means, because these are very big domains. These are not new. Let's face it, ethics is nothing new. It's coming from the Greek word ethikos and ethos. So that is already a long time back. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, transparency. The second one we're going to talk about in the spheres of influence and influencers, which is very important when you talk about ethics, because you can have the right ethical level for a certain, decision to either implement or design or use in a digital system if you're a cybersecurity professional. But, there are a lot of influences there, like customers, partners, etc. And then the other one is, the dimensions that are related to ethics, which are, I think, important for you to get a grasp of. And then, of course, accountability in general, which is not a new word at all, but is seen as new. So therefore, we need to talk about it. To start with, transparency. Transparency is the only way to try to come up with to find out where you can start. So segment, try to pinpoint and determine where you could start, and what you then perhaps should do later. The digital domain is way too big to try to sort out everything, and it definitely doesn't make any sense to only focus on one little piece of the puzzle. That perhaps is your piece of the puzzle, which is great, but it needs to be put in the puzzle at the end of the day. So the puzzle pieces next to you will be quite important and will have dependencies and interdependencies of what you do. And then, of course, the whole puzzle. The puzzle will not be two-dimensional. It will be multi-dimensional, not even 3 or 4-dimensional. If you look from 5 technical layers and 3 dimensions, technical layers being communication, network, devices, services, and platforms, and the dimensions being human, both professional and users, data and identity. So that's 5 times 15. You already have 15. 5 times 3, 15 dimensions. So this is a 15-dimensional model right there. And of course, it can be way more than that. So it's not that easy, but if things are complex, you need to start with transparency, try to find out what's going on. So a couple of notions to help you out with that. I just already explained, the technical layers and the dimensions you can work and play with to try to identify where you are probably dependent of or not. But when you talk about ethics, it's your own ethics, and based on the ethics you have, your norms, the values that you have, you behave in a certain way. Behavior will not always be exactly the same moment, but there's a certain level of behavior, and sometimes it's going, out of scope, or not. The third part is responsibility. So, generally, whatever ethic you have, and the way of your behavior is your behavior. The only thing is you need to try to, before you behave, figure out who is responsible and where your responsibility responsibilities are and where your co-responsibilities are as a team player, as part of society, part of a sector, or part of a bigger scheme of things than only an individual. And that is what we talk about with ethics, behavior, and responsibilities. The accountability part basically is try to identify and establish and also be able to document why you behave in a certain way, and either before, during, or after. Accountability is not only at retrospect. The liability part, of course, we want to avoid. Then it's way too late. Sometimes it happens, and then we need to go to redress and remedies and those kind of things. And being a lawyer, going downstream is nice, liability, but upstream, try to figure it out and keep it within ethics, behavior, responsibilities, and accountability. That is called the real world. That is where we want to operate on a daily basis. We want to avoid needing to be in the liability mode here. The second part, trying to come up with some transparency, is this slide with 11 stakeholders that are or can be important. And don't think that you are the only stakeholder, or your team, or your company, or your business, or your sector. It's way bigger than that. Also, because if you only look at yourself, then you have multiple personas, depending on the professional, or a person from home, or you're commuting from home to your work. All kind of different personas during a day in the office or at home. So don't forget about that. Of course, could be that you are employed, or you are working for a company, and with that, these kind of entities, of course, have a big influence over what you do and what you're not doing. So you would love to do this, but you're perhaps not allowed to do it because it's out of their policy or whatever. Now, I'm not going to dive into every topic, every stakeholder, but you can, see a little bit what we mean here with trying to find out the stakeholder group, which is way bigger than you may have expected, including even all the way down law enforcement, intelligence services, data access, and those kind of things are part of this big domain. Moving on to accountability. Accountability, as already mentioned a bit, is the notion of freedom. You have your ethical norms and your frameworks, and you behave in a certain way. You sort of know where your responsibility stops and ends, but you find out that there are a lot of things where we're co-responsible for. Think as a team. If you're somewhere on the field, and your colleague, your team member is not capable of performing the role at that particular time, what do? You wait and you see that you lose, or you're going to fall. You're going to help out, and you're going to lean in, and you're going to try to do your part for the team. Basically, these kind of things in a digital age where we are interconnected, we are hyper-connected, we are interdependent and dependent from each other, either device, organization, or human, is absolutely essential for success. So this is not about ethics or accountability. This is about a major essential success factor that you need to take into account. So with freedoms, responsibilities come, and that's of course what we try to explain here a bit. It's not only, as we already mentioned, accountability for yourself, but also for others, including families and your neighbors, but also perhaps all the way to the other side of the world. The accountability part basically can be also seen here as a chicken and egg. Pointing to each other will not solve it. Pointing to each other means that a certain connection is not safe or secure because we thought the component manufacturing took care of it, but you said no because there's no subscription on security patching, or yes, we had the security patch ready, but you didn't know and you installed it too late. Those kind of conversations we don't want to have, because then it drops on my desk, and then I'm an attorney at law, and I need to find out who has done what, and whether we need to call insurance, or we need to start suing each other. And that's not what we're looking for here. We're trying to resolve this before things happen. So stop pointing fingers to the other, and don't think that the other department will take care of it. It's up to you to take care of it. And if things go wrong, try to flag it with your manager or with your team. One of the ways you can do that is have a look at the European Professional Ethics Framework for the ICT profession, which is a new standard, the EN 16234, that you could have a look at, which includes 41 competences regarding ethics for the ICT profession. And it could be a nice guideline to have a proper discussion with your customers, with your team, with your partners, with your vendors, to also from the ethical side have some kind of framework that you could work with, and perhaps even work all the way through certification on a let's say yearly or biannual level. And the good thing is, as I mentioned in the start already, from the start, is that this is what we're aiming for within the EU, but definitely not only the European Union is aiming for this. Within safe and ethical boundaries, be successful, mitigating pains as cybersecurity experts, try to come up with a secure convenience level that's not only secure and then very inconvenient. Try to come up with a user experience while having it very secure. These kind of things are also strived for by the president of the current European Commission. And that is encouraging, and also within a European Union market can be very profitable and impactful. The last one for now is the main principle. If you have forgotten everything about this course, there's only one principle you need to remember, and it's an easy one. This one you can probably explain to everybody on the street, at the coffee corner, in your office, with your customer, at the conference, anywhere. And this is one that is, an eternal wisdom. But especially now in the digital age, this one is the trust principle to think about. The principle of no surprises. Nobody likes surprises. Whether it's a device that is forgotten and still listening in, or camera that is on and you thought it was off, etc., etc. These kind of surprises we don't like, and therefore the principle of no surprises is a very easy way, almost as a verification tool, to see, okay, any surprises, what can possibly can still go wrong? What can possibly go wrong? Think about this in your daily work, and I wish you all the best with that. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time.